be snowing. But the stars will come out tonight. And they will shine.
Pittsburgh sports. Goose has been covering the Pittsburgh sports scene for over 15 years. And now, Pittsburgh's own Goose Goslin and Tom McMillan are part of the colorful sports coverage.
Goose Goslin.
You get...
I have to dig in a little bit and stop people from getting to the net because Montreal scored 2 goals in the second period on deflections, and the key to that was allowing the Montreal guys to get to the net. I mean, the Islanders' defense have to dig in. First play was a terrific one. Carbonneau with the dump over to the far side to Eric Desjardins, and I'm still impressed with how he took a look and kept looking while he was trying for John Leclerc. So the pride of the University of Vermont tipped it in, and at that point the Canadians led 2-0. Same kind of deal a little later in the period on a face-off. Montreal won it cleanly, and I talked about their puck movement. Went back to the point. Desjardins to Haller. Haller just one-touched it. Didn't even stop it. Over to Brian Bellows, and his shot deflected again off of Benoit Brunet. And that made it 3-0. Glenn Healy appeared to be focusing pretty well on the play and had a look at it. You see that he doesn't appear to be really screened. I thought he was originally, but he had a look at it. But what he saw he didn't like because Brunet was able to deflect it right by him. So Healy was handcuffed. I mean, you can't fault Glenn Healy.
And our Miller genuine draft scoring summary. Dion getting his 5th of the playoffs at 10-18. Savard and Haller picking up the assists on it. 1-0 after 1. Then it was Leclerc at 3:41 his first. Desjardins and Carbonneau. Guy Carbonneau making it 2-0. And Benoit Brunet on the tip. Power play goal 14:45. Bellows and Haller. And the Montreal Canadiens with a 3-0 lead. And Glenn Healy is coming out of net for the New York Islanders. And we will get the goaltending change as Mark Fitzpatrick is now in for the Islanders. So Healy out to start the 3rd period with the Canadiens up 3-0. You see the playoff mark for Mark Fitzgerald. That's in his career. Al Arbour deciding, number 1, he probably wants to give Healy a break here. Number 2, get Fitzpatrick in to give him some playoff time and see what he's got.
And number 3, and perhaps more importantly, shake this thing up a little bit. I mean, Al Arbour had to go in and probably rattle the door a little bit and rattle the stalls of his players because they haven't been able to get to that same emotional pitch, which I felt all along was going to be their challenge for this hockey game. Get to the same emotional frenzied level that they were in for just about every game against the Pittsburgh Penguins. We'll see what they got here.
Underway in the 3rd period with the Canadiens up 3-0. It'll be brought up ice by Fitzgerald to Delgarno. Junkers out on the line with him. They are offside. And we're underway here in the 3rd. Let's check in with Al.
Gary and Bill, between periods, Al Arbour did speak with his team. I talked to him just after that. I asked him if there are any technical changes. You know, they've had a lot of injuries, and sarcastically he said, yeah, I need about 6 players. Gary, Bill?
Yeah, that is a legitimate point, not an excuse. I mean, they've had a lot of people who they have lost. Patrick Flatley still out, Turgeon still out, Travis Green out.
And Scott LeChance never even got a chance to start. Scott LeChance off the Olympic team was terrific down the stretch. Marty McGuinness. So the Islanders now without their captain in Pat Flatley, without their top offensive player, 132-point man, Pierre Turgeon. As you mentioned, the list is pretty long. Montreal Canadiens healthy, just like the Pittsburgh Penguins were for most of their series.
And coming in with that weak rest. Cleared out of the zone. Desjardins. Bellows comes back to get it. Bellows, Brunet, and Muller on the line. Intercepted Benoit Hogue. Hogue tried to leave it for Thomas. A whistle. Another delayed offside call on the New York Islanders.
This means a lot to Benoit Hogue. To any Canadian player to come back, and a Canadian-born player to come back, is special to play in the Forum. But when you were born and raised in Montreal and you are French-speaking, kind of a double spotlight. When players come back here, most of them have grown up dreaming of playing for the Montreal Canadiens. They have to come back here and compete against Montreal, and that's easily accomplished. And the Montreal Forum means even more to the players who are from Montreal.
Face-off. Muller's got it. Kirk Muller gets it out of the zone. Played near side by Brunet. Brunet dumps it in deep. Fitzpatrick goes back to get it. Mark Fitzpatrick during the regular season appeared in 39 games with 17, 15, and 5. Had a 3.46 goals against and an 8.78 save percentage. Mark Fitzpatrick in for Glenn Healy here in the 3rd period for the Islanders. Pilon around the boards. Kasparaitis out. Islanders need to jump on it early here in the 3rd and cut this lead down. Haller held in at the point. No. Curvers dumped it in. It's a delayed offside call. They clear the zone, so that'll avoid any whistle. Brunet, without the helmet, comes to the red line. Montreal wants to change it up. Back to get it. Fitzpatrick poked away, but Curvers couldn't control. Had Krupp there to help out. Uwe Krupp's got it. Krupp drops it off. Curvers pass. They got to come back. Canadiens keep that relentless pressure on here, forcing the passage. Thomas up for Hogue. Gets by Ronan. Benoit Hogue into the zone. J.J. Daniel right in front of him. Hogue looking to the slot. Tipped inside by Waugh. Tommy Curvers cutting in. Made a great tip. And Patrick Waugh focused on that one. Thomas, his shot was blocked out deep by Brisebois. Leclair for the Canadiens. Leclair's shot, save made. Fitzpatrick faces one. First hard shot he's had. Uwe Krupp starts to get away by Carbonell. Off the near side boards. Leclair trying to get it in. Krupp blocked it. Second chance he does. Ferraro goes back to get it. 2.5 minutes into the third period. Ray Ferraro. Ferraro has been pinned up by Montreal here in this game, not getting scoring chances. Vincent Damphousse. Damphousse drops it. LeBeau's got it. LeBeau leaves it for Keane. Keane coming with Damphousse. Damphousse wanted the wrister. Passes it up. LeBeau lets it go a little deeper into the corner. Ray Ferraro all over him. Damphousse out in front. King there to get it. Derek King starts it up. Canadiens already have 3 back on defense. Patrick Roy will leave it. Bollock coming to get it. That will avoid the icing call. Bollock shot Baskey way wide on the short side. Baskey again will get this at the far side point. Again, the dump around this time. Matthew Schneider is there. Schneider up for Danforth. And the Canadiens turn it up ice. LeBeau sends it in. Islanders want to change. Baskey back. Not a lot of whistles, and that's the Canadiens' advantage.
A little more light for the Islanders, though. Seem to have a little more legs, a little more drive.
Sissions got it into the zone. Matthew Schneider back to get it. Lakota, Sissions, and Loisel now for the New York Islanders. Dion gets nailed by Elon against the boards. He is all right. Hit first that time. Claude Loisel. Loisel the move. Couldn't get it out. Dion held it in. Lost it. Kasparaitis collides with Loisel. He gets the puck. Loisel tried to dump it into the zone. Couldn't. Canadiens just seem right spot, right time. That's the way they're playing this game right now. Elon at center lost it. And offside, DiPietro getting the whistle with 16:04 to go in the third. Canadiens up 3-0. The New York Islanders, and they battle back against the Capitals. Deficits in the third period. Took those games into overtime and won them both.
Ray Ferraro wearing the A. A big part of that series against the Washington Caps. Was the hero in at least 2 of those games. In one of the games when they lost 6-4, he got all 4 goals.
And the overtime goals were both his. Fitzgerald and Brunet on the face-off. 16 minutes to go here in the third. Uwe Krupp goes back to get it. Curvers backs the Krupp. 1 forechecker being sent in now by the Canadiens. Kirk Muller happens to be the one, the center on this line. Fitzgerald from behind the net. Muller moves over on him. Near side to Curvers again. Veteran defenseman off the blocker of Patrick Waugh. Brad Delgarno. His centering pass blocked right straight up in the air to the corner. And a whistle coming up because that one was a glove pass, Randy Minton says, and that'll bring the face-off out of the zone.
You know, we have talked, Gary, about Montreal sitting back, watching the New York Islanders knock off the Pittsburgh Penguins, and the Montreal Canadiens remembering back to 1986 when they won a Stanley Cup, because Calgary in the division final did the same thing to Edmonton, finished with the best record that year as the Islanders did to Pittsburgh. And I was looking at numbers today. That year, the Oilers finished with the same number of points as the Penguins did this year, 119. Another similarity is that year Montreal had 87 points and won the Stanley Cup. The team this year that is in the Final Four that finished with 87 points, not Montreal, it's the New York Islanders.
Claude Loisel was batted in the air. Sissions goes back to get it. Matthew Schneider wasn't sure where it went after it hit his stick. Sissions in the corner for it, gets tied up, lost it. Schneider will take it back behind the net. Schneider's playing the regular shifts. First game back since the injury in game 1 of the playoffs in the first round against Quebec. He's looked strong. Save made by Fitzpatrick as he kicked it out deep. Lakota's got it. Lakota drops it for Sissions. Sissions sends it into the corner. Chasing it down. Baskey couldn't control it. Schneider, again the hard out as the Canadiens trying to avoid any offensive chance of the New York Islanders and making quick changes here. Taken behind the net. Every other day, teams play here as we're in the Final Four. So they will have a day off and then go at it again at the Forum. 2 games here, then they move on to the islands for 2. ESPN will be covering those. Part of the coverage here, of course, on ABC this season. Leclerc in. Shot blocked. Pilon had it. Lost it. Carbonneau shot hit the side of the net. Fitzpatrick got to pick the net up that time. Instead of blocking the shot, he used the whole net to block the puck because it was coming in on the side of the net. Mullen lost it. Carbonneau with Leclerc cutting. Shot right by the right ear of Mark Fitzpatrick. J.J. Daniel held it in. Pilon over to get it. Benoit Hogue touched it along the blue line. Kasparaitis comes with Thomas and Hogue. Kasparaitis offside was Hogue on the left. Shutout being put up on the board right now by Patrick Roy. That's nothing new for the Montreal Canadiens, and in their history it's not. Great goaltending. There's been a lot of it right here in the uniform of the Montreal Canadiens. You see the Stanley Cups that have been won and who has been in net for them. The Vezina Trophy was named after George Vezina, last on the list there, who played with the Montreal Canadiens, and over the number of years it's been awarded, 65, the Canadiens have won 32 of the 65 Vezina trophies. They named it after the right guy, didn't they?
They sure did. Patrick Roy has 3 himself. And the Conn Smythe Trophy for MVP in the playoffs. He won a Stanley Cup in his rookie year in 1986.
Magnificent numbers for guys in net, and they have always been known as great defensive teams starting from the net out.
So I think that was always one of the underrated aspects of the Montreal Canadiens. Remember their terrific teams in the 70s with Yvan Cournoyer, Guy Lafleur, Jacques Lemaire, and they were looked upon as the Flying Frenchmen. Great offense. They were so terrific. Serge Savard, who played here for so many years, I consider one of the top defensemen ever to play, never made an all-star team because it was always Guy Lapointe or Jacques Laperriere or Larry Robinson ahead of him. One year in the late 70s, the Montreal Canadiens lost only 8 games out of 8. They won 60. They lost 8.
Now
they tied 12.
You can't even imagine. You can't even imagine that. They've had people like Gump Worsley, Rogaton Vachon, who are here in the mid-60s, late 60s, who also have performed exceedingly well in net for them and shared some awards in goal. And we didn't even have room for Bill Gernand's name, who back early on for the Canadiens won 6 Vezinas himself. Cleared out of the zone. Haller's got it. Haller sends it in wide. Fitzpatrick plays it at the side, leaves it for Malakoff. 13-16 left here in the third. Game 1 of the best-of-7 semifinal round. One of these 2 teams goes on to the Stanley Cup Finals to take on the winner of the Los Angeles-Toronto series. Fitzpatrick behind the net. 13 left here in the third. Baskey up ice for Brad Delgarno. Blocked by Savard. Savard sending it in.
You know, Gary, coming back here into this building to play against the Canadiens all through the 70s, can't imagine how intimidating it was to watch them even in their morning skate, the morning practice. They were so fast, shot so hard, and seemed to be so up for the game that there were coaches that didn't allow their teams, their players, to stand around and watch them skate even in the morning.
Because you feel so bad about it.
But it was intimidating. Yeah. It really was.
It still is. Schneider drops it off. DiPietro overskated. Gilbert Dion thought he'd try it, but he was already offside. If he get away with it, why not? Canadiens 3, New York nothing. Coming at center, the Canadiens fans have the wave going here. Glenn Healy pulled out here in the third period at the start of it. Mark Fitzpatrick in net now for the New York Islanders with 12:26 left here in the third.
Gary, we talked about Glenn Healy really having a smile on his face just about all the time. There is one thing that will wipe a smile off the goalie's face, and that is getting pulled.
Shot in front, covered by Fitzpatrick. Almost for DiPietro. John Saunders.
Gary, here's the Dodge Stanley Cup update. Ray Ferraro, what a playoff he's been having. Best of his career right now in the playoffs at least. Leads him in scoring along with Dave Andreychuk with 12 goals. And he, of course, has led the New York Islanders to where they are now. Gretzky leads playoff scoring with 23 points. Andreychuk and Ferraro, 12 apiece. The Canadiens have won 8 straight, looking to make it 9 straight. Right now, let's go all the way back to Gary and Bill.
Great to have John with us here. Usually we only get to talk to him in the studio. He's somewhere here in the forum right now joining us for our broadcast of Game 1. And while we have chance, we should also mention, delighted to be part of the return of the National Hockey League to network coverage here on ABC. Bill and I and Doug and Bruce and all of our crew, and Mark Wenzel, our executive producer. It's been a great time. We have enjoyed it, and there'll be lots of games upcoming on ESPN. In fact, all of them as we go down through the Stanley Cup Finals. ABC's coverage is going to delight to be involved with. Uwe Krupp had it knocked away. It'll be brought back in by Dion. Back in the middle, Savard, and the save was made by Fitzpatrick. Great play, Fitzpatrick. Back to the point. Deflected in front by Dion. It's sitting. Loisel just puts it in the seats to get rid of it. As the Canadiens continue to put the heat on offensively here, out shooting the Islanders 25-14.
You bet. It started with a turnover just outside the blue line. This is usually an Islanders trait, standing up and banging people as they approach the blue line, but with the Islanders trying to get out of their own blue line, they got stood up. Denny Savard, he's not going to mellow. He's 32 years old, and he was just as feisty when he was a 19-year-old in Chicago. Paul DiPietro with a big hit on 235-pound Uwe Krupp. Sprung it loose. Dion then dropped it back to DiPietro, over to Savard. That shot was hitting the side of the net anyway. And you can see the Islanders. Look at 3 Islanders looking over to that side. So the Islanders aren't sharp on their coverage even yet. No, that looked like it was headed for the post, at least. I'm not sure if Mark Fitzpatrick got a piece of it. Denny Savard finally got back to Montreal a couple of years ago when Chris Chelios was sent to the Chicago Blackhawks in his draft year, which was 1979. The Montreal Canadiens chose a guy from Western Canada named Doug Wickenheiser. Denny Savard actually went number 3 to Chicago after Dave Babbage had gone to Winnipeg, and there were a lot of people in Montreal that never forgave the management for not drafting Denny Savard that year #1 overall when they had the chance.
They love having him here right now, and you can see why. Matching minors have been picked up here by Savard and Loisel at the 8:13 mark as they go for roughing. For the incident taking place in the corner. 4-on-4. Brian Bellows has it. Bellows back. Haller in. A lot of room. Shot save. Fitzpatrick right on him. I'm not sure that he saw that. The shot came through some folks, but didn't hit anybody and ended up coming right off the chest. Benoit Hogue brings it up ice. Islanders in. Hogue looking for help behind. Couldn't find anybody. Haller put him into the corner. Hogue in the middle with the defenseman joining Baskey. Malakoff's got it. Islanders now will send their D in. Malakoff waiting. Thomas trying to get set up in front. Centering pass right through the crease. Patrick Waugh just lets it go. Played by Thomas to Hogue. Shot saved by Waugh. Kicked it out with the right pad. Kasparaitis battles along the boards with Bellows. And with 11 minutes left to go in the third period, now the gloves are dropped. Kasparaitis wants to go with Bellows. Bellows just looking at him like, do you mind?
Kasparaitis had the right hand shaking too, just like the tough guys in the movies. Come on, yeah, I'm going to hit you.
Bellows got it backed off like, what?
Don't expect any fights, folks. Through 2 rounds of the playoffs this year, there have been 6 fights. That is it. Here's how it started. Bellows with Kasparaitis along the boards. Looked like a clean takeout, but then Bellows followed through with looked like the right hand up under the chin of Darius Kasparaitis, and then a right to the side of the head. Look at Kasparaitis now. I'm ready. 6 fights through 2 rounds this year. Last year, 15 fights through 2 rounds of the playoffs. And 2 years ago, 41 fights. So we've gone from 41 to 15 to 6. Yes, fighting is on the way out.
It has been dropped. The game is sped up, and remember, it's also holding true during the regular season. Pretty good pairing.
Patrick Waugh's best save, and you know what? It was a save I think that he didn't even make, really, because Benoit Hogue's shot hit him. Waugh just had a chance to turn and react and try to stay in front of it.
Patrick Waugh now, a question here with 11 minutes to go. Can he pick up a shutout? He has 20 regular season game shutouts and 5 playoff shutouts. And he's certainly got a shot at one here. Danfus brings it in with Keane. We're still 4-on-4 here. A couple more matching minors picked up. Bellows and Kasparaitis. They too are gone for roughing. Danfus and Volek. Brisebois trying to hold it in, couldn't. Volek brings it out. Volek, Daigneault in front of him. Right through Daigneault's legs to the corner. Daigneault and Volek get the sticks wrapped up around each other. Brisebois was moving in, pushed out of the play by Ray Ferraro, and the puck came right to him. Brisebois got it up, and back they come Danfus. Danfus on the crisscross with Keane. Danfus to Keane, sets the pick. He had Danfus all alone, but couldn't get it through Malakoff and Krupp. Ray Ferraro for the New York Islanders. 28 seconds remaining on the first set of matching minors. brings it in. Islanders were changing behind the play, so he had to dump it in. Brisebois towards Daniel. Daniel trying to clear. It comes out of the zone as DiPietro got a stick on it. Islanders get back on side. Stolen though. DiPietro dumped again. That's twice he's been knocked down, and 3 times he's come away with a puck. So he wins. Far side Thomas, and he goes down again. Thomas, blue line shot saved by War. Brisebois behind the net. Canadians need a change here if they can get it up ice. Trying to break Savard. He come out of the penalty box. That forces Fitzpatrick out to get it. Here's DiPietro. Back to Savard. Savard's got Dion in front of the net. Sees him centered. Shot tipped by Dion into the corner. Gervers has it. Gervers takes the heat off by getting it out of the zone. This will be an icing call on the touch-up. Stopping the clock at 9:25, and the Canadians up. Dion getting his 5th of the playoffs this season. Leclaire picking up his 1st, and Bellows his 3rd that came on the power play. And for Patrick Roy, you see his last playoff shutout. He's trying to add to it. It would be his 6th if he can get it. That was the 2-0 shutout against Hartford that occurred in April of '92. That's Ivy's storyline here at the Forum.
Mark Fitzpatrick didn't have much of a chance to warm up. No warm-up when the change is made between periods. So Glenn Healy was pulled and Fitzpatrick went in. It's even tougher because he's so big. Little guys seem to be a little more limber, even coming off the bench. For a skater, it's tough for the big guys to come off the bench. At 6'2" and 195, that is big by goaltending standards.
Mark Fitzpatrick in for Healy here this season. Fitzpatrick's 3rd game that he has appeared in as an 0-1 record. That one's deflected into the seat, stopping the clock at 9:12 remaining to go. The Canadiens have put on a show here. We mentioned the fact that they were scrimmaging yesterday afternoon. It worked.
Oh, you bet it worked. You know, Jacques Demers had quite a scare in the month of March. He started to have chest pains and ended up in the hospital for a couple of days. It turned out it wasn't a heart attack, but you can imagine his fear. He is 48 years old, and he was with his dad when his dad was 49 years old, when his dad died of a heart attack. So with the history of heart problems, and I'm sure that memory in Jacques' mind from when he was a young boy with his dad, he put himself in the hospital right away. But fortunately for Jacques and the organization, everything was fine.
And coaching the Canadiens can lead to those sorts of things as well. It is not one of the easiest jobs. Even when winning, things can be pressurized.
I can't imagine what kind of reporter would have asked him 5 games into the season after winning 1, losing 1, and tying 3 if he thought his job was on the line. Jacques Demers said, I knew then I was in for the biggest test of my life here.
He was right. Delgarno's pass intercepted. Danfus. Vincent Danfus drops it full of ball, and a whistle on the offside call. ABC's coverage of the Stanley Cup playoffs will continue 3-0 Montreal.
Now Subway
27 games, losing only 13 and tying 2, and while they averaged offensively 3.88 a game, they were over 4 goals a game here at home. There's no question the Forum this past season and for much of its history has always been an advantage. Elmore Gantich.
Gary and Bill, one of the reasons the Islanders are struggling is that Pierre Turgeon is out of the lineup, obviously. I spoke with his physical therapist, and they are very hopeful, very optimistic that he'll be back in the lineup Tuesday night for Game 2 of this series. Gary, Bill?
Well, they could use him.
There he was.
You bet.
Sitting watching and wanting.
Another hometown kid that plays for a team other than the Montreal Canadiens. They can't draft all the French Canadians. They only get 1 pick around unless they got extra picks.
Can't get them all. Tommy Curver centering pass taken away. Leclaire, watch for the Canadiens to get some breakouts here now with the Islanders sending the defense in. Back, Leclaire, centered, blocked. Fitzpatrick got a stick on it. That ended up being a 3-on-2 break. Then Waho clears it out of the zone. Thomas giving chase at the other end. Thomas gets tied up by Brisebois. Held him up long enough to free the puck up. Back they come. Ronan. Ronan drops it for Leclaire. John Leclaire shot. Score! Oh, baby, pick a corner.
You see, that puck doesn't feel like a hand grenade anymore at all, does it? That's what John Leclaire said the puck felt like coming into this game because he hadn't scored a playoff goal. Well, here comes number 2. What a wrister. He just ripped this by Mark Fitzpatrick before Fitzpatrick could move. And, you know, John Leclaire brought up a good point as you look at this goal from behind the net. He said, anyway, I'm on a checking line, and that is the truth. With Ed Ronan on the right side and Guy Carbonneau at center, these guys are looked to as stoppers out there, and they are playing against the Hogue-Thomas line, which is supposed to be the top offensive line for the New York Islanders. In spite of that, the checking line has come through with 2 goals, and the Canadiens lead 4-zip.
John LeClair out of the University of Vermont has 2 goals in this game. The fans rocking the Forum. Brunet back to center. Haller. Now the question, the big one is for Patrick Waugh. Can he and the Canadiens put a shutout on the board here in game 1? 7:29 left to go in the third. Haller clears it around. A delayed offside call. The announcement on Leclerc's goal for what you all know is a quiet, sedate crowd here in Montreal. Benoit Brunet over the red line and in. Brunet the move! Brunet save! What a great chance! Brunet, his own rebound. Bounced off the back of Muller's skates. Kurt Muller nailed by Pilon. Puck still loose behind the net. Reaching for it, Fitzpatrick through the net to hold it up behind it. He did. Tonight on ABC, a special night. 1 hour of America's funniest home videos will be followed by the network's newest news hour, Day 1. And then the revolution begins in your living room. It is the television event of the year, Oliver Stone's Wild Palms, all tonight on ABC.
Boy, the Canadiens have picked up the scent. What a move by Benoit Brunet. Rich Pilon didn't take the man or the puck. I mean, usually you take a piece of one of them. Brunet actually got a second whack at it out of midair and got his rebound a second time behind the net. The Canadiens are hungry, and they can smell this win. They've got 4, they want 5. That'll pretty well put the Islanders away.
6 minutes and 58 seconds to go. Number 4 came from Leclerc at 12:06. Roman and Daniel picking up the assists on it. They changed the third goal, by the way, to Bellows instead of Brunet on the tip. Bellows got credit for that goal. Kasparaitis up and out of the zone, and that will be called as it ends up in the bench, and things heat up. Bakota and Oderline, these are 2 heavyweights being separated. Now Savard moved in.
And behind the play, Rich Pilon took down Gilbert Dion, and Dion with a huge roundhouse slash caught Pilon on the side of the leg and hurt him. Pilon shaking it off enough now to get in there and grab Dion again.
And Savard and Loisel started to go at it.
Oh, look at Pilon now. He wants to take off. Here we go. We're going to have a fight. No, we're not.
The linesmen move in. Oh, no. Pilon and Dion, and one of the linesmen was hanging on to Dion when Pilon wound up and hit him.
That's where you got to be real sure you got them both tied up, and Randy Mitten, one of the linesmen, did a great job of getting in there to Pilon to stop him before he could cold cock Gilbert Dion. That's Kasparaitis and Paul DiPietro. There's Loisel. He's paired up with Matt Schneider, number 27. And we have not seen a lot of this, have we? And you know what? One of the only times, or the few times that it happens, you can usually bet that the game has slipped away from one of the teams, and that the frustration of not being able to get anything going gets the better of them. And very often this is the situation that results. You'll never see this in a real tightly contested match, but this one's just about over. But they haven't had the fight knocked out of them yet. Mick Bakota with a cross-check on the back of Lyle Oderline. These are the 2 tough guys for the respective teams. But it spread after that. Bakota calmed down, so did Oderline. But Rich Pilon didn't. And neither did Gilbert Dion. Here's Pilon coming in at Dion. Now watch Pilon. He'll get a penalty if he fights with that visor on. So when Pilon decides to go, he says, all right, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to stand back. Here I go. I'm going to take my visor off. And Dion says, okay, I'm ready. Dion was the aggressor going to Pilon, but as soon as he was grabbed by Wayne Bonney, the linesman, Pilon came with a big roundhouse. He didn't land on anything. And for once, the catalyst was not Darius Kasparaitis.
Sure wonder he's unhappy about the fact he was away from the play and not able to join in on that. Then again, maybe the Pacers had enough for one game here.
In Darius Kasparaitis' defense, he just doesn't go out there looking to fight. He gets emotionally worked up. He is that kind of player. Anybody that would punch his own goalie in the head after a loss, which he did playing for the Unified team, and bust his stick over the crossbar after losses. He hates to lose, and he's a terrific competitor. But you can see from this little melee that Darius Kasparaitis didn't go out there looking for trouble. When it's his battle, he'll fight, and that's it.
4-0 lead for the Canadiens, and the Stanley Cup Final Four, of course, have now been set, and Stanley Cup playoff coverage continues. Every semifinal game on ESPN starting tomorrow night, as it'll be Los Angeles and Toronto going at it. And boy, did they celebrate in Toronto last night. All night long, the streets were alive and dancing for a team that has struggled over the last decade and a half just to be in the playoffs. Now, what the Canadian country is smelling is Montreal and Toronto. Would they ever love to see that matchup? There you see Kurt Muller. They're waiting here as the calls are made. The extra 2 has been put up on the board against New York. But it looks as though the Canadiens are going to end up with a power play out of this. Muller was out there making sure, and they do. It'll be a 5-on-4 power play as the extra penalty was against the Islanders. Shot in by Mullen, shorthanded on Patrick Roy. Power play for the Canadiens with 6 minutes and 28 seconds remaining to go. Islanders have seen some shorthanded spunk in this game. They've been able to direct some shots like this. Mullen deflected that time into the seats. So a minute 39 left on the power play. 6:17 left to go here in the third period, with Canadians up by a score of 4-0 and continuing to dominate in shots, 28-17.
A lot of veterans in this series, especially on the Islanders. Brian Mullen. The Montreal Canadiens, though, have kids, especially on defense. Kevin Haller is one of them, 22 years of age. J.J. Daigneault is the oldest Canadiens defenseman in the lineup today at 27. They got 2 23-year-olds and 2 22-year-olds, and they play like veterans. I mean, this team, small, fine, but Serge Savard understands that the game is changing, and he's gone to a more mobile type of game, and these guys are young. This is going to be a good team for a lot of years here in Montreal.
Amazing thing is, with those names, they are veterans. They're guys who play second, third, and fourth years already, who are only 23, 24 years old at the oldest. Centered, Bellows couldn't find it. Bumps in front of Fitzpatrick. Muller gets hauled down, but the puck was already covered up. Bellows right on the doorstep. Just couldn't find the puck. It was too close for him to get a shot off.
See the Islanders coverage still. 3 players on one. Just not mentally sharp, Gary. That they have not been able to recover with 1 day off. And believe me, I understand that problem. I played in a series in the early 80s and won a 7th game in Philadelphia when I was playing for the Flames. We had 1 day to travel back to Calgary and prepare for the Minnesota North Stars in the semis. We lost the first game and ended up losing the series in 6 because we lost the home ice advantage, and it just was not enough time to come down off of an upset win in a Game 7 in an opposing team's building when you've really been the team that has done the upsetting. Not enough time to recover emotionally or physically, but most of it is emotional. If you can get the head going, your legs and your body will follow.
Just have not been able to do that, and credit a good deal of that to the play of the Canadiens here as they came out flying in this game. The penalties we had, Pilon got 2 for roughing, 10 for the misconduct. Dakota got a 10-minute misconduct. Dion a 10-minute misconduct, and Odeline a 10-minute misconduct. So all of them gone for the game. And the extra 2 minutes went to Pilon on the roughing call. Fitzpatrick along the boards. Malakoff dug it out. Played by Brisebois at center. 36 seconds remaining on the power play chance. Power plays haven't had much to do in this game. We've had the 1 power play goal that's been picked up on the 5th chance Canadians had. That has been it. Dump to the far end. 20 seconds remaining on the advantage. 4-0. Montreal trying to continue their win streak at home here in the playoffs. It would be their 6th in a row. Brunet in. Brunet drops it. Shot! Missed. Matthew Snyder, played by Kasparaitis. And if they win this game, they will have won the last 9 playoff games this season after losing the first 2 to Quebec. Kasparaitis clears it out, and that's it. Out of the penalty box comes King, who is serving the minor. Now back to even strength for the New York Islanders and full strength. 4:28 left here in the third. Brunet. Benoit Brunet leaves it at center for Ronan. Ronan off far side. Whistle coming up. Guy Carbonneau sends it in. It's the Islanders who are going to be penalized here. Carbonneau, Brunet, extra skater on the ice for Montreal, and there's the shouldn't they with the great tradition they've got. And it's continuing right now here in the semifinals. First game, Canadiens leading it by a score of 4-0 and only 4 minutes left to go. Patrick Roy trying to pick the shutout up in this game. Fitzgerald clears it back in. Haller goes back. In the penalty box, New York shorthanded again. The 7th power play of the game for the Montreal Canadiens as Kasparaitis was taken out for the slashing call. Brought in by Kurt Muller. Vaski intercepts, and the Islanders are shorthanded yet again.
Wouldn't have been so bad for Darius Kasparaitis if he hadn't left the evidence in the neutral zone. He broke his stick right in two.
Damphus has it. The Islanders, the frustration a bit coming up in the final 5 minutes here in the third period. Bellows in the corner, hit by Coop. Decisions back to get it. Kurt Muller hit by Delgarno. Coop plays the loose puck and gets it out of the zone. 3:14 left here in the third. Patrick Roy is way out of the net, and
he tried that long up ice pass that Brad Delgarno just about got, and you know what? Delgarno would have been able to score before Roy got back in.
Roy went back in a hurry. There's Delgarno with the puck again. Roy makes the save, blocking it, making it look like no problem. Cousins plays it to Matthew Snyder, rather, from behind the net. Snyder starts it up near side for Brisebois. 30 left on the power play. Fitzpatrick couldn't get that one. The player had it. Delgarno took it away. Poke check by Mike Keane, who came away with the puck. Lost it. Malakoff sends it up. 20 seconds remaining on the power play chance. Ben's waiting to see if Patrick Roy will get the goose egg in this one. Drop pass. Going to have to be played by Brisebois in his own end. Still 9 seconds on the power play. Matthew Snyder back to get it. Snyder to Brisebois in the middle of Keane. Keane, LeBeau, rushing near side Leclaire. Leclaire and LeBeau, Malakoff there with him. Keane comes over to help out. Taken away. Nice play by Malakoff off the skate and onto the stick. Power play's over. 1 for 7 on the power play for the Canadiens. Even strength with 2 minutes left to go in the third period. Holt fanned on it. Ran to center by Desjardins. Uwe Krupp comes back to get it. Krupp holding. Be the first shutout of this playoff season for the Canadiens if they can get it. Rao had it knocked away. Dennis Savard, Uwe Krupp couldn't get it. DiPietro lost it to King. King leaves it far side. 1:39 to go. Leclaire intercepts. Can't control. King's got it for the Islanders. Intercepted again. DiPietro off the board. Savard. Savard pinned up by Krupp. Still has the puck. Ray Ferraro pulls it away. 1:24 left to go in the game. King brings it up. King, the screen and the shot. And that's blocked by Desjardins. Bollock's got it. Bollock in the middle. Kasparaitis, he missed the net. Rebound, Kasparaitis, saved by Roy. Ferraro scores! With 1:07 to go in the third, they break the ice with Ray Ferraro's goal.
First time the Canadiens have collapsed in front of Patrick Roy. Darius Kasparaitis must have sore arms from shooting. He had 2 terrific chances to score the goal himself. Finally, with Patrick Roy flat on his side, Ray Ferraro was able to do it. Bollock just laid it out there for Kasparaitis. He doesn't have a good shot, and he doesn't control it that well. That shouldn't have gotten up over the net. Then Kasparaitis with his own rebound that put Patrick Roy down. But look, not much coverage by the Canadiens. People falling all over the place, and Ferraro able to score. You saw Gregson, the referee in the bottom left, throw his arm up. He was going to call a penalty against Montreal, and that gets waived on the play because the Islanders scored just when he was going to call the penalty.
So Ray Ferraro has the goal-scoring lead in the playoffs to himself once again, as that is his 13th this season, his 20th of his career, and puts New York on the board. 1 minute left to go in the third period. Claude Loisel. Patrick Roy knocks it away. Cleared up the boards. Kasparaitis trying to hold it in, cannot. But the Canadiens still have the 4-1 lead. Offside delayed call here. Brisebois drops it back for Matthew Snyder. Patrick Roy coming into this. Leclaire for the hat trick. Tied up Fitzpatrick and Malakoff. Penalty coming up. There's the whistle. And it'll be a power play for the Canadiens to finish this game with 32.9 remaining.
Right, John Leclaire has had a strong hockey game. He really put the University of Vermont hockey hockey program on the map because Leclerc was being wined and dined by every major school in the country.
Next Sunday on ABC Sports, the world's best drivers face two very different challenges. First at 4, 3 Central and Pacific, continuing coverage of the Indianapolis 500 time trial. Then, from Darlington International Raceway, race 2 of the Drivers' Ultimate Test. It is the International Race of Champions. It's all next Sunday on ABC Sports. Pole position right now, Arie Luyendyk, 223-plus miles an hour at Indy.
There's John Leclerc with his 2 goals.
30 seconds left to go. Point shot, Matthew Snyder in the corner. Krug trying to push it by Damphus Camp. Damphus has had another very strong game. Snyder sends it in. 8 power plays for the Montreal Canadiens, who have scored 1 power play goal. Brisebois, blue line to Snyder. Snyder the shot, blocked by Fitzgerald, played by Benoit Hogue. And Hogue will just clear it out. 8 seconds left to go. The Canadiens have now won 9 consecutive playoff games this season. They are 6-0 at home. They win game 1 of the semifinals, 4-1.
And with a tight, cohesive, disciplined effort from top to bottom, they deserve the win from the start of this hockey game. Patrick Roy was terrific when he had to be, but not that much work for this guy. He faced a lot more work against the Quebec Nordiques and the Buffalo Sabres. The only positive thing, I guess, from an Islanders standpoint, Gary, is that they open on the road. You can lose one on the road. They still have to play here Tuesday night. If they win that one, they have grabbed the home ice advantage back. So the only positive is they lost on the road and not at home.
Now Albert will be happy to give his team a rest, while the Canadiens, mighty happy they looked as strong and sharp as they did after being off for 7 days. Patrick Roy's 60th career playoff win, now the 5th most in National Hockey League history, as he moves ahead of Andy Moog, the next Jacques Plante, who has 71. We'll be back to the forum. Our final score here, the Montreal Canadiens win game 1 over the Islanders 4-1.
Is the Montreal Canadiens 4, the New York Islanders 1 in there are 2 goals. He's standing by with Al Morganti.
John, you had a real big game today. You win the first game of this series, but in Montreal, every win is accompanied by expectations. Do you feel like this city expects you to win this Stanley Cup now?
Well, there's a lot of tradition here in Montreal, and you know, it seems every year when we start the season, they expect nothing but the Stanley Cup. And you know, as it goes right now, the 4 teams left, we're the favorites, so you know, there's a little bit more pressure on us.
The Islanders show up here today instead of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Are you shocked? I mean, honestly, that they're here?
A little surprised, not as shocked as you would think. New York did a great job. They played them tough, and you know, they just wanted it, and you know, it shows what desire and a lot of heart will do for a team, and you know, they deserve to be here, so we can't take them lightly at all.
All right, thank you. John?
All right, Al, thanks a lot. 4-1 is the final. The Montreal Canadiens with the victory. The coverage will continue on ESPN. It starts tomorrow and goes all the way through the Stanley Cup final. So keep tuning in. The Stanley Cup playoffs are on ESPN. For all of us here at ABC, that's done. This was our final ABC game. We hope you've enjoyed it. Good night from Montreal.
Coming up next on ABC Sports, over $1 million is at stake on the links in Dallas. The PGA's best tee-off in the final round of the GTE Byron Nelson Classic live. This has been a presentation of ABC Sports, recognized around the world as the leader in sports television.
Eliminated the Penguins Friday night. There it was, a gleaming, shining, drool-over-it possibility. A Stanley Cup final of L.A. versus New York. Step 1 towards or away from that came at the Montreal Forum Sunday afternoon. The Islanders stepping into the maelstrom at Montreal. Get out of town. There are Mets fans in town, too. Canadiens played well. Second period, Eric Desjardins with the shot tipped in by UVA's John Leclerc. 2-zip Habs. Still in the second. It's Kevin Howard setting up Brian Bellows for the power play goal. 3-0 Canadiens, third of the playoffs for Bellows, who bellows. And still 3-zip Leclerc with the blaster past the relief goalie Mark Fitzpatrick, second of the day. 4-zip Habs. Great night or great afternoon for Patrick Roy. Stops the Vladimir Malakoff blast with his face. And then goes conventional on Brian Mullen. Glove save and a beauty. Ugly scene late in the third period. Dancing. And you hate to see that. Well, they typically broke it up. The cheap shot by Thailand over Gilbert Dion. The Habs won the game, though, 4-1, and that's what matters from their viewpoint, as Glenn Healy said here on the net Friday night after the Pittsburgh win. The Habs don't have the Pens' firepower, but they're much more disciplined, and they have that Roy guy, his 60th playoff win between the pipes. Meanwhile, the other semifinal opens Monday night.
More of us are planning long-term relations.
Has a chance here. Wrist shot deflected. Rebound in front. Stevens. He shoots and scores. Oh, stop the press.
The PPG Power Play goal was brought to you by PPG's Olympic
locker room after a lackluster 4-1 loss to La Habitants. And the hero from Montreal, John Leclerc. Eric Desjardins puts a pass right on his blade. Leclerc, cruising through the crease, beats Glenn Healy to make it 2-0. Later, Leclerc got his second of the game. He was the #1 star. Wrist shot, great placement. That made it 4-0. Final was 4-1. Game 2 is on Tuesday night. Tomorrow.
Luminaries missing Sam Malone, the White Shadow, and Oscar Madison.
You won't see JR or Patrick Ewing, Mary Tyler or Mike Moore, or the one-armed or Charles Mann. But you will see the epic cliffhanging on the edge of your seat. All the loose ends are tied up. Plays of the week.
Plays of the week, the final episode, the day the plays died.
It's a sad day. A sad, sad day.
An end of an era, really. It was great while it lasted. Now it's time to say goodbye.
It's hard to believe Plays of the Week debuted 39 years ago this week.
The goal was simple. Great plays for the masses. But it was about more than just great plays.
Oh, so much more.
Plays of the Week captured the essence of an era, the wholesome wackiness that defined the 50s.
But the times, they were a-changin'.
And so, too, were the plays of the week. The turbulent 60s were about questioning authority.
Anybody else? Take your best shot now. Come on.
And the loosening of sexual and social mores.
This is just a setup. Get out of my face before I kick.
In 1972, President Nixon normalized relations with Red China.
And Plays of the Week was there to document his visit to the Great Wall.
The 80s were about money.
About excellence.
And excess.
Greed.
And great accomplishments.
Over the years, Plays of the Week has amused,
frightened,
enraged, disturbed,
offended, loved,
and hurt you. Ouch! So here are the Plays of the Week.
One last time. Just who shot who at the Copacabana.
Plays of the Week is delivered by Federal Express. For documents, packages, and freight worldwide, our most important package is yours.
Just to explain, that wasn't really the final episode of the Plays of the Week. It was all just a dream.